After burying her husband, Sarah never expected his parents would throw her and her children onto the street. Homeless and heartbroken, she had no idea her beloved Robert had left behind one final gift, the ultimate protection against his cruel family. Their revenge was coming, signed and sealed. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Sarah wiped her tears as she stood beside her husband's freshly covered grave. The dirt was still loose, flowers scattered across the mound. Her 16-year-old daughter Emma held her hand tightly, while 7-year-old Ethan clung to her black dress, too young to fully understand that his father would never come home again. "It's time to go," her father-in-law Harold said coldly, not meeting her eyes. His wife Martha stood beside him, her lips pressed into a thin line. The drive back to what Sarah had called home for the last 18 years was silent. Emma stared out the window, her face red from crying. Ethan had fallen asleep in Sarah's lap, exhausted from the confusion and grief. When they arrived at the house, Sarah expected to find comfort in familiar surroundings. Instead, she found her and her children's belongings packed in boxes by the front door. "What is this?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "This house belongs to our family," Harold said firmly. "You are no longer part of this family." Martha nodded in agreement. "Robert is gone now. This property has always been in the Williams' name. You need to leave." Emma stepped forward, her teenage face twisted with anger and disbelief. "You can't do this. This is our home. Dad wouldn't want this." "Your father isn't here anymore," Martha said, her voice cold. "And the house is in our name. Always has been." Sarah felt her knees weaken. "Please," she begged. "Robert has only been gone for 3 days. We have nowhere to go." Harold took out an envelope from his pocket. "Here's $500. Find a motel until you figure something out." Sarah couldn't believe what was happening. For 18 years she had cooked for these people, cared for them when they were sick, celebrated holidays together. She had thought they were family. "You have until tonight," Harold added. Emma was now sobbing. "How can you be so cruel? After everything Mom has done for you?" Ethan woke up, confused by the raised voices. "Mommy, why is everyone yelling?" Sarah picked up her son, holding him close. "It's okay, baby," she whispered, though nothing felt okay. Through her tears, she noticed an unfamiliar woman peering through the curtains in the living room. Later, she would learn this was Martha's niece who had always envied Sarah's place in the family. With no choice, Sarah called the only person she could think of, her old college roommate Lisa, who lived 2 hours away. By nightfall, Sarah and her children had packed what they could into their small car and headed to Lisa's apartment. The first night at Lisa's was the hardest. Ethan cried for his father and his bedroom with the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Emma sat in silent rage, refusing to eat. Sarah herself couldn't sleep, replaying the last few months in her mind, wondering if there had been signs she had missed. "They've always hated me," Sarah confessed to Lisa over late-night tea. "Robert was their only child. They thought he could do better than a simple girl from the wrong side of town. But Robert loved me and they had to accept it. I guess now that he's gone, they don't have to pretend anymore." The next morning, Sarah called the school to arrange for her children's transfers. Then she called the small library where she worked part-time to explain her situation. Her boss was understanding and promised to hold her position, but Sarah knew a part-time librarian's salary wouldn't be enough to support 2 children. For weeks, Sarah applied for every job she could find while staying at Lisa's cramped apartment. Emma had become withdrawn, her grades dropping at her new school. Ethan had nightmares almost every night, calling out for his father. One afternoon, while sorting through Robert's personal items she had managed to save, Sarah found a small key tucked inside his favorite book. She remembered Robert mentioning a safety deposit box but had forgotten about it in the chaos of his sudden heart attack in the funeral. The next day, Sarah drove to the bank. Inside the safety deposit box, she found legal documents, family photographs, and a sealed envelope addressed to her in Robert's handwriting. With trembling hands, she opened the letter. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. I've always known my heart wasn't strong, just like my grandfather before me. I pray I've lived long enough to see Emma graduate and Ethan grow tall, but if not, know that the love I have for you 3 transcends whatever time we've had together. My parents never appreciated what a treasure you are. I tried to shield you from their disapproval, maybe too much. I should have confronted them more strongly, and for that I'm sorry. But I've prepared for the worst. Despite what my parents believe, the house isn't in their name. I secretly purchased it from them 5 years ago when they needed money for my father's surgery. The deed is enclosed in this envelope. The house is yours, Sarah, not theirs. There's also an insurance policy my parents know nothing about. It should be enough to give you and our children security for many years. Stay strong, my love. Show our children how to live with kindness, even when faced with cruelty. Forever yours, Robert. Sarah sat in the bank, tears streaming down her face. She felt Robert's presence so strongly it was as if he was sitting beside her. After collecting herself, she took the documents to a lawyer Lisa had recommended. The lawyer confirmed everything. The house legally belonged to Sarah, and the insurance policy was worth $750,000. Robert had thought of everything. What do you want to do? The lawyer asked. Sarah thought about the pain her in-laws had caused, the trauma her children were still experiencing. Her first instinct was anger, a desire for revenge. But then she remembered Robert's words, live with kindness even when faced with cruelty. 2 days later, Sarah, Emma, and Ethan returned to the house with the lawyer and police officers. Harold opened the door, his face turning pale at the sight of them. What is this? He demanded. This is my property, Sarah said calmly, handing him the legal documents. Robert bought this house from you 5 years ago. I have the deed to prove it. Martha appeared behind Harold, the color draining from her face. That's impossible. The lawyer stepped forward. I assure you it's entirely possible and legal. You have 24 hours to remove yourselves and your belongings from the premises. The niece who had moved in peered from behind Martha, looking frightened. Harold's face contorted with rage, but the presence of the police officers prevented him from lashing out. This is a mistake, he muttered. No, Sarah replied firmly. The mistake was thinking that family is only about blood. It's about love and respect, something you never understood. Emma stood tall beside her mother, a small smile of satisfaction on her face. Ethan held his sister's hand, not fully understanding what was happening but feeling the shift in power. The next day, Sarah watched as Harold and Martha loaded their belongings into their car. She felt no joy in their humiliation, only a sad acceptance that some people never change. As they prepared to leave, Sarah approached them one last time. Despite everything, you're still Ethan and Emma's grandparents, she said softly. If you ever want to be part of their lives, you'll need to earn it with kindness and respect. Harold couldn't meet her eyes, but Martha paused. Robert always was smarter than we gave him credit for, she said quietly before getting into the car. That evening, Sarah and her children sat in their reclaimed living room. The house felt different somehow, truly theirs for the first time. Mom, Emma said, breaking the silence. Dad would be proud of you. Sarah smiled through her tears. And he would be proud of both of you too. Ethan climbed onto Sarah's lap. Can we put the glow-in-the-dark stars back on my ceiling? Yes, baby, Sarah said, kissing his forehead. And we can add a whole new galaxy if you want. Over the following months, Sarah used part of the insurance money to start a small business she had always dreamed of, a bookstore cafe in town. She named it Robert's Readings in honor of her husband's love for books. Emma's grades improved, and she found purpose in helping at the store after school. Ethan's nightmares gradually subsided as stability returned to their lives. Occasionally, Martha would visit, awkward at first but slowly forming a gentler relationship with her grandchildren. Harold never returned, his pride too wounded to face what he had lost. On the 1-year anniversary of Robert's death, Sarah stood by his grave with fresh flowers. This time the tears were fewer, the pain duller. You gave us one last gift, she whispered to the granite stone. You protected us even after you were gone. As she walked back to her car where Emma and Ethan waited, Sarah felt a warm breeze brush against her cheek. She smiled, knowing that whatever came next they would face it together, the family Robert had loved more than anything in the world.